Diversity at RCVS in 2022, Part 2. In Part 2 of this look at diversity, we shall be looking at two themes. The first is the tension between diversity and competence, and the second, a conjecture, which can be summarized as: what if we have run out of discrimination? Diversity and competence. If we accept, as the DIG strategy document states,
it is vital that we are all able to work within a profession that is open, trusting, safe and, most importantly, diverse.
Then we should ask the DIG, where our profession's historic commitment to competence lies. Competence is the outcome of knowledge and expertise when it is deployed effectively. Competence has been the aspect of the profession that has led to the astonishing levels of trust, something which even President Neil Connell has acknowledged.
The basis of all good relationships is trust, and it is fantastic to see that our clients continue, overwhelmingly, to trust our knowledge and expertise.
There is no proof that implementing diversity policy will, with certainty, increase the level of public trust from 94% to 98%, for instance. That is a concern, and 100% trust is, like 0% discrimination, an asymptote. Having a profession where there is doubt about competence, because the public see that it has been subordinated, for instance to diversity, will certainly erode public trust. Why would that be a good idea? Why don't the DIG have an explicit ambition to sustain and improve public trust? In its strategy document, the DIG illustrates 7 identitarian datasets, 7 divisions as they see it, within our profession. The analysis by the DIG is not aiming for cohesion, instead, it is manifestly emphasizing division, which in political terms is called intersectional identitarianism. The intersectional characteristics are divided into those which are immutable, such as age, sex, and race. Then, there are the probably immutable characteristics of sexual orientation and geography of qualification, and the strangely combined physical disability and medically compromised group of dimensions, which may or may not be permanent. Together with the social mobility dimension, focused not on class or social deprivation, but the type of secondary education that veterinary undergraduates have. This is a bit weird, unless there is a partisan political viewpoint playing out here. The DIG, as in so many things, does not explain why these particular datasets are chosen, but it would be a reasonable conjecture that these are on the DIG's agenda to be, quote, fixed, unquote. The final look of the fixed dataset, the final intersectionality is also unclear, but for this discussion we will run with the idea from the DIG that these datasets are problematic and need fixing. Taking the dimensions of age, sex, and race together, we should remember that these are all immutable characteristics. Thus, any measure to fix these dimensions will be recognizable to anyone interacting with an individual, whether that be a colleague, the public or, most importantly, that individual themselves. The most obvious way for the DIG to fix things is to encourage demographic adjusting quotas through so-called culture change, using the tool of positive discrimination. However, the DIG has no intention of encouraging anything, witness the strategy document introduction.
We need to take action.
The DIG's message is compulsion, not consent or encouragement. Let's run a case study, at this point, from general practice, and draw out 3 consequences of DIG politics. The scenario. We have a client, a member of the public, with a sick dog. They are worried, and possibly frightened of what the vet might say, but this is balanced, in part, because they have belief, they have trust, earned by the experience of seeing competent veterinary surgeons and nurses on previous occasions. Every time they go to their vet, they want, above all, to know that their vet is competent, just as they used to be, in order to ensure the best treatment. For this scenario, we add in a new variable. On this occasion they meet a veterinary surgeon, or nurse, who they have not met before, and that vet is different, along one, or more, of the three dimensions chosen to illustrate this point. In a world where competence is the supreme characteristic of veterinary surgeons, they know their beloved pet, and family member, is getting the best possible care. In a world where the supreme value is diversity, as the dig states, the public cannot know if that new veterinary surgeon, or nurse, is appointed in line with a diversity policy, rather than competence. In that moment of doubt, with that doubt in the client's mind, we lose an aliquot of public trust. Is that erosion of trust a good thing? In this scenario, the second aspect to consider is how this newly appointed veterinary surgeon or nurse is perceived by their colleagues. The setting is general practice, which are small organizations, with team working. At the moment, there is an acceptance that new colleagues are all competent, to a well-understood level. If an employer embraces diversity appointments, and they would not keep that a secret, how can the existing team know, for sure, that their customary expectation of competence is being met by their new colleague? In that moment of doubt, there is a loss of an aliquot of trust in employers and the new colleague. Why is that loss of trust a good thing? The third, and perhaps most perturbing aspect of this, falls on the newly appointed veterinary surgeon or nurse. There is already discussion about so-called imposter syndrome, particularly for junior vets and nurses, but how does our new vet, or nurse, handle waking up at 3 a.m, stressed because they do not really know if they were appointed on their own merits, or because of a diversity policy? In addition, how do they deal with the guilt of possibly having denied work to a more competent person? Why would anyone wish to burden a colleague in this way? The dig has some awareness of this. Neil has stated that their work is not about quotas, but, unfortunately, this denial is just one of the examples of the name group indulging in gaslighting those who might question their ideology, something we will touch on again, in a later video. The dig has no stated goals, beyond reforming intersectional divisions in an altogether unclear way, and to an unclear end. Furthermore, it does not understand the costs of its aims on the public, colleagues, and the subjects, nor does the dig recognize, or engage with, the concept of the supremacy, not of diversity, but of competence. If only there were a forum to have this debate, not least so that RCVS could refine their offering, because refinement through challenge and debate is the scientific way.
The conjecture, what if we have run out of discrimination, is radical thinking. It is also there to be debated. It has been offered up for debate, but no one at RCVS wishes to engage, so we take the opportunity to lay it out here. Please use the opportunity this platform provides to comment and at least begin that debate.
An implied premise of the need to increase diversity and compel inclusion and equity in the profession is that there are intolerable levels of discrimination operating in our world. Well, what if there were almost no discrimination left in our profession? Another premise is that, by increasing diversity, etc., experiencing the contribution of the marginalized, along whatever intersectional dimension the dig decides, will only lead to positive outcomes. The dig strategy document states that following this path will imbue, quote, strength, unquote, and, quote, create benefit from different points of view, experiences and contributions, unquote. Well, what if those outcomes were already being achieved? That would be a good thing, wouldn't it, even if this were not through the intersectional politics of RCVS and the dig? Surely, the positive outcomes are what matters, not the RCVS, not the dig, and not their political process. The key to this is the state of the employment market in 2022. There are 3 aspects of the employment market which even RCVS know of, and are referenced in their Workforce Summit. Recruitment. Given the current employment market, where job vacancies exceed the supply of applicants, anyone, veterinary surgeon or veterinary nurse, can pick their job. All they need currently, to find employment, is a license from RCVS, and a heartbeat. No one is left without a job opportunity. Retention. Given the current employment market, within limits hitherto unknown, employees can approach their employers and make a strong case for improvement of their employment terms and conditions, using the persuasiveness of market conditions and the leverage of being able to find a better job easily, rather than the traditional argument of improvement in their competence and the value that creates for their employer. Return. Given the current employment market, those who wish to return from whatever career break they have taken can find part-time, flexible employment, hitherto unknown, because of the pressures on our working community, of prevailing market conditions, and the shortage of vets and nurses. The current employment market is the product of any number of factors. Some of these have had a substantial influence, for example, shortage of numbers, Brexit, and new ways of working, as a COVID/lockdown legacy. So, if the effect of the market condition is to end choice for employers, and therefore perceived discrimination by employers, and if the market were to provide full employment, enhanced T's and C's, and new ways of working, then this would be the existential mechanism, which effectively ends discriminatory practice, the holy grail for the dig, rather than their intersectional politics. It is naive to believe there will never be some discrimination. In truth, the elimination of discrimination, zero discrimination, is an asymptotic concept, like the asymptote of 100% public trust, mentioned earlier in this video. Discrimination is outlawed, as are many activities, from TV license dodging through to murder. However, people still break the law. But, what if the market has created a circumstance, in our world, in 2022, such that there is a minimal amount of discrimination, in other words, nearly nothing? Surely, that is a good thing, albeit achieved by the circumstances of the market, rather than political design. If we accept the premise that we are short of discrimination, and there is opportunity everywhere for all, it will be reasonable to ask the intersectionalists, the resentful, who frame our professional society along sex and race dimensions, rather than as a scientific and welfare-orientated community, what they will do next, if the implied outcome of their primary grievance is a rare event. Surely, an end to discrimination, by any means, would be a good thing for our community, and surely, we could reasonably expect the intersectionalists, at RCVS, to embrace the effective end to their grievance as well, unless they have no way of acknowledging this achievement, because they have no clearly articulated outcomes. And here we return to the first video of this two-part look at diversity, as politicked at RCVS. The dig, the manifestation of diversity policy at RCVS, has no outcomes, it just exists noisily, unless we, as a profession say, enough is enough, scale back the dig, and refocus on the apolitical challenges facing the profession. If only there were a forum for communication and debate, we could, instead, ask for help for the profession, where it needs help, not where the name group's politics is trying to take it. Please add your thoughts to the comments section on this platform, and we'll see you with our next video in the RCVS series.